Hello, good morning everybody. So today we will discuss about one more important parasite, that is the Trypanosoma gambiense. This parasite it belongs to phylum Protozoa, class Mastigophora, order Protomonodina, genus Trypanosoma, and gambiense is the species. So it is a cellular organism or unicellular organism. Generally, this parasite is a cellular organism. Somebody will be explained as per the is discovered. So it is this parasite actually endoparasite, particularly found in the blood of man. So this parasite generally found in the human blood. It looks like a leaf-like elongated dorsally, and this parasite can be called as hemoflagellate parasite. Why? Because it is endoparasite and also found in the human blood. So therefore, and this parasite is having a flagellum at its most anterior end. So therefore, what we call it is called as hemoflagellate parasite. So now these parasites generally, when we see geographically distribution, particularly found in the African countries, and there are another two more species are there, and which are also found in the different parts of the countries. So now this parasite particularly causes a disease is known as trypanosomiasis. Generally, this parasite causes a disease is known as trypanosomiasis or Gambia fever, and also called as African sleeping sickness. So another two more parasites are there, that is particularly found in the Australian and American countries. So therefore, African, American and Australian countries. So Australian sleeping sickness and American sleeping sickness, those parasites are found in the different parts of the world. So when we see on the whiteboard, it is elongated and antero-posteriorly. When we see the posterior side is just somewhat blunt and it is continuously following at its most anterior end is completely anterior end is somewhat pointed, and it is a leaf-like structure, and here in this part, this parasite, it is a diegetic parasite and living in the it involves in two hosts, particularly man is the definite host and secondary host or intermediate host is the CC fry. So now this it is a when we see actually these parasites are found in the human blood, and these are when we see under the microscope. So therefore these parasites are microscopic animals. So now this parasite most anterior end is there is a flagellum, free flagellum is present, and body is particularly when we see covered by a thin elastic membrane called pellicle. This is the pellicle. Its body is completely outer covering and thin membrane is called as pellicle. And this parasite, this pellicle is supported by there is a longitudinal thread-like structures here. This is the longitudinal thread-like structures. These are looks like structures called as microtubules. These are the microtubules. Now, the body is actually fulfilled with the cytoplasm. Here, in its body is completely fulfilled with the cytoplasm, and which can be distinguished into two regions: endoplasm and ectoplasm. This is the endoplasm and this is the ectoplasm. Generally, we know that cytoplasm is divided into two parts: ectoplasm, endoplasm, like this. So here, this cytoplasm contains, there are blepharoplast. This is the blepharoplast and kinetoplast, and these are the nucleus also. This one, there is blepharoplast, kinetoplast, and nucleus is present, and particularly the nucleus is oval in shape, larger in sizes with a nucleolus. And now there is a whip-like structure is called as flagellum. This is a whip-like. When we see it, anterior end is, looks like a whip, and it is called as flagellum, and which is actually arises from the most posterior end of the blepharoplast, or it is also called as basal body, and which runs anteriorly along with the and encloses to the pellicles to runs the anterior end, and which can be merges into the flagellum, and this part is called as undulating membrane. This part is called as undulating membrane, and this flagellum, and there is most of these two are interconnected by a filament is present. Both of these are interconnected by the filament. Kinetoplast, there is a kinetoplast, and this parasite is generally particularly when we see in the parasite, the nucleus is situated in the middle of the portion of the body of the parasite, and it is covered by the nuclear membrane, which is auto covering is nuclear membrane, and also filled with a nucleoplasm. This is also fulfilled, in which also plasm is present. That plasm is called as nucleoplasm, and the nucleoplasm contains chromosomes and spherical nucleolus and endosomes, etc. are present in its nucleus. They can feed. The parasite can be feed only its nutrition is generally, the parasite nutrition is blood plasma, and this is the very most important thing. And this is the now in which also there are some of the reserve food materials also, granules are also present in its body. And now this parasite involves two hosts in the parasite, and man is a definite host, first and last, and secondary or intermediate host is a CC fly. And so this is the morphological structure of Trypanosoma gambiense, and this parasite causes a disease is known as trypanosomiasis, or sometimes it may be, and it causes a disease also called as Gambia fever. The Trypanosoma gambiense, so the name is given Gambia, and the Gambia scientist is find out this parasite, so therefore the name is given Gambiense. So the Gambia fever is causes main, and another one is the sleeping sickness, African sleeping sickness, particularly in this country. Okay, today now it's continuously Trypanosoma gambiense life cycle. So this Trypanosoma gambiense, it is a protozoan parasite. It is a protozoan parasite, and It is an endoparasite of man. Particularly, this parasite lives in the blood of man. It lives in the blood of man. So therefore, hence what we called as hemoparasite. Why? Because this parasite lives in the blood of man. So therefore, we will call hemoparasite or hemoflagellate parasite. So now what we can say that this parasite completes its life cycle in two hosts. So hence, therefore, what we call as, it is called as digenetic parasite or digenic parasite. So it involves in two hosts. The first and final host is the vertebrate host, that is man, while the secondary or intermediate host, that is a vector or mosquito, that is called as intermediate host or secondary host is a vector, particularly mosquito, and it is a invertebrate host. So now man is the first and final host, and secondary and intermediate host is the vertebrate host, invertebrate host, that is the vector. Now when we see its life cycle, when a parasite, when a CC fly bites a person or a man, Trypanosoma introduced into the blood of man. It means when it is bites a person or a host or a man, first of all it applies skin of the surface, saliva, and then it bites and it introduced into the trypanosomas into the blood of man. This trypanosoma directly enters into the, along with the blood circulation in the blood. This trypanosoma is, they can be feed, grow and develop into a, becomes a long slender forms. So here this trypanosoma, after some times, here it will be undergoes binary fission, longitudinal binary fission. It undergoes into a longitudinal binary fission, then it stops feeding and it is transformed into an intermediate form. This is the intermediate form. Vertebrate host, that is the long slender form, and this is the dividing into two and intermediate form. So this flagellum gets short and stumpy, like a form by the short and stumpy form. And the intermediate form, in the intermediate form, the flagellum gets shortened end. This is the shortened end. Then it becomes shortened further and it transforms into a short stumpy, short and stumpy forms. So it has no flagellum. There is no flagellum. It has no flagellum. And it does not feed and it does not multiply here, and it is the infective stage. Then they will become into an infective stage, because here there is no, they cannot feed, and it does not feed and they do not multiply here, and it is the infective stage. Further development takes place only inside the gut of the, inside the gut. This is the CC fly in the vertebrate host man. So then further development takes place only inside the gut of the CC fly. So now the life cycle of in CC fly, how in which the life cycle goes. When a CC fly bites a man, the short stumpy forms, this is the short stumpy form, the short stumpy form enters into the gut of the CC fly. When the CC fly bites a person. When it bites a person, when it is sucks the blood, and the short stumpy forms are enters into the directly gut of the CC fly, and along with the blood, the CC flies, the trypanosomas are short stumpy forms are enters into the along with the blood into the midgut. In the midgut, it becomes elongated and forms a long slender forms like this. Here it is enters. Why? Because here it can be feeding, growing, and grows into a long slender forms. Here it multiplies by the longitudinal binary fission. Here again it will be multiplies by the longitudinal binary fission. Then it enters salivary glands and it transformed into critidial forms. Here it is critidial forms. This is the critidial form. Here it is develops into form into critidial forms. So the critidial form is short. Here it is critidial form is short. Here you see here on the whiteboard. Here I am showing. It will be becomes into critidial forms are short, and the critidial form is a short, and kinetoplast is located in front of the kinetoplast. Here this is the kinetoplast. Here it is kinetoplast. It is located in front of the nucleus. Here it is completely changes, and the critidial form multiplies by the longitudinal forms. Here it is dividing into critidial forms. Here it is undergoes into multiplication by the longitudinal binary fission, and it is transformed into long slender trypanosome forms. Here it is transformed into a slender trypanosome forms. It is the infective stage. Now here it will becomes into a infective stage. The infective stage is called as, and this metacyclic form, is the infective stage, and the further development it has to be introduced into the blood of man. So when the CC fly bites a person, bites a final host, and again the short stumpy forms, this is the metacyclic forms, are enters into a person. When it is bites, first of all it applies saliva and introduced into the metacyclic forms into the blood of man, and again these metacyclic forms are enters into the blood, and along the blood circulation these metacyclic forms are elongated due to the feeding and developing and growing. After some time then they will become into long slender forms. So like this trypanosoma life cycle is going like this. So infection, how it will causes infection? The parasite is introduced into the blood of man when the CC fly bites him or a person while feeding. The fly punctures the skin, and then it introduces into some saliva which prevents the clotting of the blood. Saliva is, why it is applying the saliva? The blood bleeding is stopped. Due to the saliva. So along with the saliva, the parasite also enters the blood. In human blood, it feeds and grows into a long slender forms. Now it's pathogenicity. Pathogenicity means symptoms. It causes Gambia fever by the trypanosoma, and it is transmitted by the CC fly, and it is also called as African sleeping sickness, which is characterized by the following symptoms, like that is the recurrent fevers, severe headache, and weakness, loss of weight, anemia, and the patient falls asleep. Ultimately, the result is death if not treated. If the person properly not treated, and till he will death. So this is the pathogenicity. So now how to take the prevention? The infection of the Gambia fever can be prevented by there are some following steps or methods are given. First of all, destruction of the CC flies. Firstly, we will take care of destruction of CC flies. Now, second one is spraying DDT powder in the areas of CC fly. DDT powder will be spraying where the CC flies are present, particularly in the areas. Now, by taking an injection of 1 gram of suranin every 2 or 3 months. So, this is the take the prevention. And treatment. So, nowadays the treatment is the tablets medicines are available every medical shops, and the Gambia fever can be treated by there are some drugs are there, Bayer 205 and Cantopol, Anthropol, Germanin, Suranin, Pentamidine. Like this, there are so many types of medicines are available. And the Trypanosoma gambiense causes a disease is known as trypanosomiasis and also called as trypanosomiasis. So the treatment is Gambia fever can be treated by the Bayer 205, Suranin and Anthropol, Germanin and Pentamidine. Like this medicines are available, and through these medicines these parasites will be removed from our body. So this is the simple explanation of Trypanosoma gambiense life cycle, treatment, pathogenicity and control measures. Okay, right.